So, what about God? Who created God?
Dude, let's study into it a little deeper. Let's do it.
What's up, guys? We're here again. Once again, Lee's back. I know we skipped a couple of videos with him because, well, I don't know, maybe
I'm not the only guy around that can talk about stuff.
that and maybe the PTSD from the cheese.
Yeah.
So he got over it. He trusted me again. Anyways, so you notice something. He's got something right here. I've got something right here.
Matt, you just hit.
It's new. I'm sorry. It's okay. You get over it. It wasn't with cheese this time. So,
That's true.
anyways, these are PurelyChristians shirts. I think that's what it says.
It does.
It's got a play
It says-
button. Click right there.
How about that?
So yeah, we have them now, and we are also gonna sell them. I think sounds like something we should do.
That sounds like a pretty good idea.
If you go on the website, you can check them out there, and we're gonna,
Yeah. If you want to rep being purely Christian, I think that's a pretty cool thing to be.
Anyways, you guys seen the, enough talk about that. You guys have seen this title, we're talking about, and we have a few things that we're going to go through, but we're going to do it a little differently. So Lee here is actually, we're going to do a little devil's advocate. You guys have seen that in a video way back with Gavin and I talking about the baptism objections, and we did that. It won't be as long as that video, but we're going to do that same,
So little disclaimer, the words that are going to come out of my mouth in this video, I don't actually believe.
Yeah, now I could edit it and make Lee look really bad, but I'm not going to do that. So, no. But what we're going to be doing is Lee's going to be playing the role of an atheist or maybe an agnostic. I don't know if you want to mention that. But, atheist, agnostic, or just coming from the non-Christian standpoint.
Non-Christian perspective.
We have talked to some people and they say, well, it's not that I'm an atheist, and they'll explain what they are. And maybe they don't always have a title. So non-Christian perspective is what we're getting at.
And some people just don't even know. I remember before my Christianity, I was very close to being an atheist, but I grew up in a faith. So I had a little bit of a background. I had some sort of idea of what God was, but nothing really nailed down and nothing really accurate.
Yeah, so anyways, what we're going to do is not really play like a role of this is a solid atheist and all of them believe this. It's just you hear these objections, you hear these responses from people who aren't Christians, maybe people who say, I am an atheist, and then other people hear those objections they give and they want to know, okay, well, he's making a point here. What's the answer to that? So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to talk about a few things, and you guys may have seen it already, but we're going to be talking about, creation, a cause, how did we get here? How did creation come to be? We're going to go through questions like, who created God? We're going to talk about things like, morality and, the truth that Christians claim to have. And, are they crazy? Or they just believe in some crazy book that's just written by man? Well,
And hopefully, you guys are going to take this and be able to use it to when you share it with people. That's the ultimate goal, is to win more Christians. Christians make Christians. And we want to give you guys the ammunition to combat some of these ideas. Maybe you've heard them. Maybe you've got a friend or a family member that absolutely has these views, and we want to give you a good way to be able to approach them.
Yeah, and some of them maybe are just hurting. One last topic we're going to talk about is evil. If God, why evil in the world? That's probably one of the biggest ones. Why he's a good God, but there's so much evil. Why? How does that work? Yeah. And maybe you've had some answers for that. Maybe you just want to, learn a little bit more about it, or maybe you just don't know where to begin. And so that's what we want to hit. And one thing we want to say, and we'll say it again later, but a lot of these people that we come across that don't believe in God, maybe they're just mad at God. We've seen that. They're just hurting in some way. And they're people, and there are people also who just have these questions, really don't know. Really, we just want answers, and so we want to really just address those here tonight. So anyways, let's get started. All right, so what are your questions? What do you got? I'd love to talk about it.
So when I look out into the universe, when I look at like the age of the Earth, it doesn't seem like you guys are right. It seems like it's a lot older than what you think it is.
So right about, because we say it's, only a few thousands of years old, it's 5,000, 6,000, within, thousands rather than millions and billions, like people say.
Right.
That's what you're getting at?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good question. A lot of scientists bring this up and they say, well, right there from the beginning, they're wrong, so creation can't happen that way. Part of how they teach creation is God created the heavens and the earth, the first verse of the Bible. So therefore, they're already wrong from the beginning. And so they can't, we can't trust them. They can't be right because they're already wrong from the beginning. Well, we got to stop and, take a step back because we've missed something. And a lot of times when we talk about, apologetics, is God real? Maybe there's just a miscommunication there. And that happens even with doctrine between people who claim Christianity. Sometimes they believe different things because right there where they break off, there was a miscommunication. And that happens a lot, and that's kind of what happens here. We look at there's plenty of age in the Word. You're absolutely right. But then we say, the Word's only a few, thousands of years old, not millions and millions. How do you bridge that gap? So we got to think creation just, either way, right? Whether it's, maybe you're hitting on a big bang or it's just an accident, we know that nothing, something can come from nothing. Nothing comes from nothing. Like we just sit there logically and think, okay, there has to be some way, some outside force, something that caused it to be. Whatever that is, the big bang, whatever, different scientists have come up with, we have a beginning somehow. But then there's Christians who say that God created the heavens and the earth. So we know in some way that we had a beginning, there was creation, there was a point in which we started. And so there's age now. Millions and billions of years old, so we had to backtrack all the way to the point where everything was newborn and it was fresh. Well, what makes more sense? Does it make more sense for there to be some type of accident, some type of big bang, and then all of a sudden we're created with age? Because it has to be age for us to live. We breathe oxygen. How do we get oxygen? From plants and trees, and all of that. And how do those things breathe? We produce carbon dioxide, and then plants breathe. They breathe that carbon dioxide. And so we have to be created at the same time. If you have a seed on the ground and you have a newborn baby, first off, the newborn baby is not going to survive by itself. And secondly, that plant isn't going to grow up, and when that baby's not a baby, or even if it's a full-grown adult, isn't going to be able to breathe because of this plant. It's just a seed, right? They just die. So at some point, we have to realize that when we were created, whether it's by God or we were accidentally created by a big bang, we came into being with some sort of age. We had to. So then we have to ask the question, did we come into, if we can come into age, if we can come into a being with age accidentally, then it doesn't not make sense for us to come into being with age intentionally by a God who is a creator. Or maybe you don't want to use the word God, but whatever you want to do, because I've heard that argument as well. The creator, God, someone who created us can create us intentionally with age. That makes more sense than it does for us to accidentally come into being with age. So right there from the beginning, we know, okay, we had to be there with age. There had to be age. Now that we look at it that way, it makes sense that God can create with age. That makes more sense than us to come into being with age accidentally. So if God can create us with age, then He can create us with, any number of age. It could be millions and billions of years.
So what you're saying is that it's not that when we look out, we see age. That is true.
Yeah.
But that He created it with age.
Yeah, God created it with age. I've talked to someone before who, this was a real life scenario, they say, it's millions and billions of years old, you're saying thousands of years just like you just said, that's wrong. I said, if God can create, and this guy believed in God, right? Some don't, but he believed in God. I said, if God can create, why can He not create with age? It makes more sense for us to come into being with age intentionally than unintentionally. If we can come into being, with age unintentionally, by accident, then it makes just that much more sense for us to come into being by a creator with age. So that doesn't disprove God at all. We can come into age, if we can come into age accidentally, then that doesn't disprove the fact that God can create us with age. If anything, it just supports that much more. It makes that much more sense.
All right, so you've kind of made a pretty good case for age, but you hinted at cause. How do we know there even was a cause?
Yeah, cause was just
like,
no cause.
why isn't it just infinite, goes back forever, goes forward forever?
All right, so in a nutshell, your question would be,
Like, how did it start, and
how do we know there's a cause?
how do we know there's a cause?
Gotcha. Okay, that's what I thought you were picking up on. So we got to think of what it even means for there to be a beginning, because scientists and Christians both believe, you backtrack far enough, that there was a beginning. We know that Stephen Hawking has this huge study on it, even though he was an atheist and he didn't believe in God and never came around to it, and they even made a movie about it. He went through all this study on that. Scientists, as far as Stephen Hawking and all these other guys, agreed there was a cause. But what was the cause? And that's where we have a lot of disagreement. It's a Big Bang, or it was this or that, or then we hear some really crazy stuff that we're not going to get into today. But then we have Christians who say, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God, He created. He's a creator. Created what? The heavens, and the earth, something physical. When? In the beginning. That's a Christian's argument. So we both agree that there's a beginning. And we got to think of it like this. Everything that has a beginning has a cause. For there to be a beginning, there has to be a reason why there's a beginning. There has to be something that put it there, right? We know we don't get something out of nothing. Nothing just creates more nothing. That's all we have left. But if we track to the beginning, then we know there was a cause. Everything that has a beginning has a cause, right? The universe had a beginning. We've seen scientists and Christians alike, atheists and theists alike, have both agreed that the universe does have a beginning. So everything that has a beginning has a cause. The universe had a beginning, so the universe had a cause. So we know there's a cause, but we have a disagreement on what the cause is.
I guess that's one of the things that has bothered me, is that we ask the question, what started the Big Bang? And everybody seems to say, I don't know. Or it just was.
And see, the Big Bang is also, something has to cause the Big Bang. Bangs happen for a reason. Volcanoes happen for a reason. When you knock down a tower of Legos as a kid, it happens because a kid came in thinking he was Godzilla or King Kong and knocked it down, right? There's a cause to it. But we also got to think of it like this. If everything has a beginning, it has a cause. The universe had a beginning. Therefore, the universe has a cause. Then it makes more sense for there to be a cause than for it to just come out of nothing. Because if everything that has a beginning has a cause. If that wasn't true, if everything that has a beginning didn't have a cause, then that means things can come out of nothing. If things came out of nothing, then we start to go down this line, this line where the logic, we have less logic and it just makes less sense. Because if we came from nothing, then with all that we have now and all the tools that we have now, why have we not created a bigger and better universe? That sounds crazy, right? Like, what's he talking about? But what makes more sense? Making a big universe out of all the tools we have, or out of nothing? And see, we start to stray away from any possibility of making anything logical, because we're just falling away from that. It's not to say that people who genuinely have this question aren't logical or silly or not smart or anything, but we got to think of it like that. Everything that has a beginning has a cause. The universe had a beginning, therefore the universe has a cause. But what is that cause?
So then, if you go back all the way to the beginning, what was at the beginning?
So what was that cause?
Right.
What was that cause? So we got to think, what was at the beginning, right? At the time of the cause, what was there? What did we have? What did we not have? How can we have creation? Well, what do we have in creation, right? What's three things? I guess maybe you could say the word elements, or maybe change it up a bit, but what three things do we have? We have space. Energy. We have space, right? We have, maybe energy is a good one, but we have space, right? We have time. That's one thing we have. We have matter, right? And with creation, there needs to be space. Like, where do you put it? Right? There needs to be time. When do you put it? And there needs to be matter, the it, right? Right. So there's a matter, the it. Where do you put it, the space, and when do you put it? And so at the beginning, we have to think that for that to be creation, then that means the cause has to be outside of those things, right? The cause, some people say two molecules, right? There's two molecules and they just came together and boom, the Big Bang. Okay, so we already have matter. Those two molecules is some sort of creation. Something causes molecules to be there. So that is just as much an argument as where we are at today, right? That's some sort of creation, right? So really that gets thrown out the window because we got to think, how did that get there? How did those molecules get there, right? And so we know that wasn't it because that itself is some sort of creation that we got to discuss. Okay, how did that get there, right? So that can't be the answer itself. That's just the same question and maybe just worded a little differently. So how did creation get here? How do we get here, right? The space, time, and matter. So the cause has to be outside of space, it has to be outside of time, and it has to be immaterial. But also, it has to be one other thing is it has to be personal, right? Or a personal agent, you might say. And, I've heard different authors, I've read different books, maybe word this a little differently, but some sort of personal agent that has to have the choice, the intent to create. Because we go back to the question you asked at the beginning, talking about, cause and causality and how did we get here, and we went through that line of question. How did we get here? What was the cause? And that was the question that you had asked me then. Well, and I said, well, we talked about age, right? What makes more sense for us to come into being with age unintentionally or intentionally, right? And so the cause, right? Maybe we can even dare at this point, maybe we're not far enough into it yet, but to say the creator or whatever created us, right? It has to be. We know there has to be a creator because it has to have intent to choose to create. Because it's outside of time, outside of space, outside of matter. There's no accidents, right? There can't be an accident because two molecules can't come together because those molecules haven't been created yet. Yeah, they don't exist yet. Okay. So we have to get to that point where we say, okay, for this, if the cause has to be outside of the space, time, and matter because that is that we're talking about, that is the creation, then that is us living here today in the universe, then the cause has to be outside of those things to create those things and has to choose to do it, and no longer can it happen by accident because all possibilities and all theories that have been given by scientists for us to be here by chance or by accident or whatever other words have been used similar to that all consist of there already being creation. Because when I say all, I mean the ones who talk about molecules coming together or Big Bang, things within that boat. That's what I say when I mean all the things in that boat, because that's already creation. Molecules are creation. They come together. This and that banging together to create the Big Bang, that's creation.
So from the scientific perspective, I would say that the idea is that in the beginning, everything was shrunk down to the tiniest point ever.
It's tiny. Right?
With all of the energy from the entire universe into one spot, and then your perspective is, well, where did the energy come from?
Not just where did it come from, but where is it? You say it's in this other spot. How do you have the space to put it in? How do you have the time to put it in? See, the creator, the cause has to be outside that and has to choose to create it because there no longer is any room for there to be an accident. So now we can go from saying the cause to the creator.
So what happened before the beginning?
Yeah, before that happened, right? Before that choice for the creator, whether it's the creator God that we talk about in the Bible or something else, because we haven't got that far, that creator, what happened before he created, right?
So what about God? Who created God?
Oh, who created God or who created the creator? Right? We've reached the point that, okay, now it's a creator, not just some cause, but the cause is personal. It's a creator. It's, God, if we can dare say it at this point, right? So who created the creator? Who created God? That's a great question. We hear that a lot. Who created God? Well, we got to think of what it is that the creator created, right? Because we're in this mindset of creation. So we think that, okay, everything has to have a cause, everything has a beginning. Everything has a beginning, has a cause, right? But that a beginning starts time, right? God's outside of time. right? He's before that beginning, right? He's outside of time, he's outside of space, he's outside of matter, right? He's outside of those things. So if he's outside of time, then that means that he didn't have a beginning. Because everything has a beginning, has a cause, and needs that creator. But if he's outside, a beginning references to time. He's outside of that. He's before the beginning. And that's a question we ask a lot. You know, who started the beginning? What was the beginning to the beginning? Questions similar to that we hear a lot. Well, that's because we're in this mindset. We're in this, this bubble called the Milky Way that is created, out of space. And within that, we have planets and we have Earth, and then we're within that. And we have time, we have matter, we have space, right? We look at things with creation, but God's outside of time, outside of space, outside of matter, right? We said that. We said that for time, space, and matter to be created, the creator, the cause, now we got to the point of creator, has to be outside of those things, which means he's outside of time, so he's beyond a beginning. He's outside of time, so he doesn't have to have a beginning, because those who what has a beginning has a cause, but that's time. He's outside of that. He's outside of creation, because he's self-existent. Is another way that you could say it, because he's outside time, right? So summed up, God has no cause. God, we don't have to ask the question, who created God? God's created, who created God? God has no cause because he has no beginning.
I don't know, man. I think your truth isn't my truth.
Was your truth my truth?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, so that's the point you're getting at. Truths are different. Well, we got to think, what is truth? Truth is reality. Maybe some people disagree with that, but truth is reality. It's true that these loved ones that we have passed on. If we use this logic, then when we lose a loved one, we say, no, they're still here. We're going to walk in and they're going to be on the couch because that's your truth. You just told me they passed away. I'm going to walk in, they're going to be home. And you walk in, are they home? No. Or maybe they get arrested and they go to jail, and you walk in and it's like your friend's no longer there at the house. They just got arrested. Well, no, that's what you're saying, but that's your truth. That's not my truth. He's at the house right now. I can see him. You can't. Well, no, he's not there. He's in the jail cell, right? Maybe you can use that logic with a divorce or a relationship of any kind, whatever it is, right? The reality is they're in that jail cell. The reality is their relationship's not together. The reality is, your shirt, you have a shirt on right now. Well, no, he doesn't. Yes, okay, he does. And see, we like to. You
should be thankful I have a shirt on.
I should be, yes. No, I'm just kidding. But you made the joke. Anyways, we try to take truth and make it into some new word and say, well, actually, this is what the word truth means to me. Okay, but that's not what we're talking about, right? We're talking about reality. Truth is reality. What is the reality? If the reality is that God, there's a God and he created the heavens and the earth and he created us in the beginning. He's outside time, space, and matter, yet he chose to create us, and then he did it in the beginning, and then he created time, space, and matter, and now we're part of that. Thousands of years later, not millions and billions, but thousands of years later in the earth that was created with age, then that's what happened. You might believe that to be differently, but what we're really looking at is not your truth is different than my truth, because the reality is the same. All of those things I just listed, that reality is the same. It's what you believe to be true is different from what I believe to be true. Now, you might look at me and maybe say the dangerous thing like, there is no truth. I hope you don't say that. But some people say that. Well, there is no truth. Is that true? No, it's not true. Or yes, well, yeah, that is true. Okay, so there's truth. Well, no, that's not true. Okay, so that's true. There's no truth. So there is truth.
I think there's truth that we can prove.
Yeah. And so we do have truth, which means we do have a reality that there is truth, and that there's something that we come to. Now, maybe what you believe to be true is different than what I believe to be true. But truth is reality, and the reality is the same.
So one of us is wrong.
Yes. And that is the point that we want to get to, is that there is a truth. And that you might say, well, you say God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, cool. Well, I don't. This is what I think happened. So this is how I got here, and this is how you got here. No, we got to admit that one of us is wrong, and that truth is reality, and that there's a God that created us. He's a creator. We've got to that point already. There is a creator.
So what you're saying is the existence of a creator means that you're only left with one option as far as truth goes.
Exactly, because you gotta think of it like this. He created us. He created our existence. He created our reality. So he now becomes this objective standard that we have for what the truth is. Because, and this is a Christian's response, but God's opinion is the truth. God said, you know what? I think it would be good to create. I created, 6 days of creation that we see in the Bible. And he said it was good. He said it was good. He said it was very good, right? And that's what he chose, right? God set that standard. That was his opinion, but his opinion is the truth.
So when you talk about his opinion, are you talking about law?
Law, maybe. I know some people, they use the word morality. That's a big word that gets thrown around, is morality.
I know that, we look out in the world and there's different cultures in different places. I mean, I kind of think that's just how you were raised.
Well, yeah, you're raised in your own culture, like absolutely. Like, people in Haiti that were raised in Haiti were raised in Haiti. We were raised here. But what happens a lot is we'll get the response that, you just gave me, and that people who don't believe in God, just gave as he gave. Well, that's what they say, because they were raised that way. But that can still be okay. That can still be the truth. And they try to make it we almost try to play God in that situation. And then all of a sudden, well, God's not real. What morality does is morality shows us that we already covered creation and cause. But morality shows us that cause, not just this personal agent or a creator that we talked about, but that creator, is God and is that objective standard, because morality shows who he is. Morality proves that he is God, because if you say there's no truth, well, is that true? You say, you might look at me and we might try to, go back and forth about something that's, right or wrong. Well, is murder wrong? Well, yeah, murder is absolutely wrong.
Nobody's,
but what about a murderer that thinks it's okay, right? But what's the truth? Is murder wrong?
Well, yeah, murder's wrong.
Good. I'm glad we clarified that. But see, when we say there is no God, or we say that that this is wrong, and we can agree that this is wrong, what are we doing? We're saying an objective standard. But where do we get that objective standard? From an objective source. So it goes beyond just a cause. It's now a creator that gives an objective standard and gives us objective truth.
So, I mean, I think we've got morality because we live in a country with laws. I mean, there's laws. You can't go and just murder someone or steal from someone.
Because it's wrong. Why? Because of the laws? Because the governing officials say it's wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, so these officials, they sit down, they write out the laws. Okay, we can't do this. We're not going to let people in the country murder because it's wrong. Why are they saying that? Why are they saying it's wrong? Why do they say it's wrong in setting the law? Who says it's wrong?
It hurts people.
But why is that a bad thing? Who says it's a bad thing?
Well, I don't know.
See, where do we get this standard from? Right? To hold someone responsible for any type of injustice, this hurts people. Well, yeah, it hurts people, absolutely. We agree on that. We agree on that truth. We agree that is not just objective, but that is true, and that is reality, and that is an objective truth that it hurts people and it's wrong. Absolutely. But to hold someone responsible for their injustice, we are setting that objective standard. But where do we get that objective standard? See, atheists, to say anything is right or wrong, to say anything is good or bad, to say anything is good or evil, they have to set an objective standard. But where do they get that objective standard from? From an objective source. That's beyond just a cause, but it's a God, and it's a personal God, and it's a creator God. And they're taking that from God to set that standard. So it doesn't disprove God, but if anything, just points to him that much more. You said, hurting people, right? Like, we can't hurt people. That's wrong. It hurts people. We can't do that. To be consistent, you can't say that anybody made a difference in the world or just changed the world and made it so much such a better place. Says who? It's just different. Saving a life would be just as the same as taking it, because we can't say that one's better than the other. Well, saving a life is much better than taking it. I agree. But here's the thing. That is setting an objective standard. And where do we get that objective standard from? If there's an objective morality, then God exists. Right there, then God exists. Every law has a lawgiver, right? We have an objective moral law, so we have an objective, moral law giver. If one thing, just one thing, is objectively morally, objectively, if it is objectively right or wrong, objectively good or bad, objectively good or evil, then God exists.
All right, so here's what bothers me. If there is objective morality, like you say, we agreed murdering is bad.
Yeah. So we have that. We've now set that standard.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. If that's true, why, if we have a creator, God, why do we live in a world that's filled with evil?
That's a great question. I think that's one of the most common questions. If God, why evil? He's a good God, so why is it evil? Well, we've already, I think, really laid this out, and we just kind of worded it a little differently with morality and evil. If something's objectively more, then God exists, right? Evil. There's evil. When we're saying this is evil, we're saying it's objectively evil, objective morality, right? So when we say, that something's evil, we're already proving that God exists. We know that He exists because evil doesn't exist without good, right? It's a lack of good. How do we know what's good? What is good? Objectively, by God. Yes. Okay, we got that. But why? Why is it evil? See, it doesn't disprove God, but we're just left with maybe we just have a misunderstanding of what it is we're looking at when we see evil, a misunderstanding of who God is. He's a good God, so why do we have that evil?
How can He be a good God if there's so much evil in the world?
Exactly, and that's the question. That's the question that we're getting at. Is we have God, we see that He's real, but why is there evil?
The world's messed up.
Yeah.
Okay? If we've got a God that's a good God, why is there so much evil in the world, and why doesn't He take it away?
If He took away the evil, if He took away everything that wasn't good, right? All the bad that's in the world, right? Why doesn't God just take it away? There's bad, He can take away the bad, so why didn't He take away the bad? Yeah, well, if He does, who's He going to start with? You? Me? Us? Our friends, family? Right? See, all of us in some way have lacked good. What is evil? It's the absence of good. It's the lack of good. In some way, we've done something that was wrong, that God doesn't want us to do. It's evil to other people, but we also gotta think, who's He gonna start with? Is He gonna start with us? No, now we know for a fact that there's people out there who are doing things that are way worse than some of the things that we have done, right? We know there's murderers, and while even preachers have done things that aren't the best, they're not out there killing people. There's a big difference, right? But see, God set an objective standard for all of us, and some of us are broken in more than others, but we've all broken in some way or another. Have you ever heard someone's feelings? Or maybe bullied people, right? So why didn't He just take you away right there and then? Nope, we're not doing that here. Take Lee away, right? Well, Lee's different than this murderer, right? But what about the kid that's his feelings are hurt? What about the bad that's caused there?
So why didn't He just make things perfect as an all-powerful God if He's all-powerful?
He created, so why didn't He? He did. That's how He created in the beginning. But we messed it up, right? See, for there to be, evil, we have good and evil, right? Evil is the absence of good. So when we stray away from that, right? He created us good. When we read in the Bible, right? When He created, He said it was good. It was good. It was good. It was very good. He even said at one point, right? So He created things good, but we messed it up. So then, while we turn around, pointing our finger at Him, we're the one that took away the good that He created.
And if He could see that, why did He bother creating.
Well, God isn't going to force free creatures that He created freely. He created them to be able to be free and make their own choices. That's, we know that, right? So He's not going to force free creatures to make free decisions. That's a contradiction, right? That's not what He created. He created free creatures, and if He did, let's say He did, because maybe there's a little bit of a solution there. Let's go that route then. What are we going to be doing? We're going to be complaining, like, why do we have such an evil God that's making us do this and making us do that, and He's forcing us to make these decisions? See, it's a misunderstanding of God. He's not forcing us to make these decisions, right? Why did He create? You just asked that. Because when we, as free creatures, choose Him, how sweet is that? If you force a woman to marry you, you force her to be your wife, you force her to raise kids with you all the way up to high school, you force her to stay with you for the rest of your life.
Well, she definitely won't love you then.
No. But you take that and you meet a woman, or maybe ladies, you meet a guy. And only those two options. It's 2023. Goodness. that video coming soon. Anyways. Okay, back into set. How sweet is it when on their wedding day, do you take so-and-so? I do. Then I do mean something. When you say,
so
do you choose?
choice.
Yeah, do you choose God, right? Just like the choice to create, His creation chooses Him back. And that's why He created us. But if He just forces us to be robots, to take away that evil, first off, He's taking away that choice from everybody because we've all messed up in some way. But also, then we can't choose Him. We can't choose Him. We're robots. He told us to choose Him. That's not a choice.
So God doesn't want robots.
God doesn't want robots. But see, look how far we got. Now we got to the point of God who wants to have that relationship with us. And He created us to be good. We messed it up, but He still gives us a choice to turn back to Him. And then one day, as Christians, when we all get to heaven, we're not going to have any of that anymore. We're only going to have that choice where He chose us, we chose Him, without evil. And that's the promise that He makes to us. All right, guys, well, we just converted Lee.
Woohoo!
He is now a purely Christian.
How about that?
Man, no, you started that way. But, we just want to wrap up a couple of things to you guys, both of us playing the role of Christians. We're not playing the role, being Christians.
Well, yeah, we're being Christians, playing the role of an atheist. I think I did pretty well.
Yeah, I think you had some...
I need acting lessons, let's be honest.
No, I'm kidding. But anyways, we just want to close up with a couple of quick points.
Yeah, so there's a big difference between the Christian and the atheist perspective. And there's a big difference between the mystery to why and the contradiction
To existence.
to existence,
Yeah.
right? And Christianity has a reasonable approach and a reasonable explanation to why we're here and what our purpose is, the big questions that people ask in their lives, God, or if you're not there at God, but why am I here? You've had to have asked that at some point in your life. Why am I here? And Christianity has that explanation. And nihilism, atheism, agnosticism, all of your other isms, they don't have that answer.
Respectfully, but
Respectfully.
I think we've laid that out pretty clear here. And we want to say to those, maybe, I know many people probably watching this, but to the Christians here who wanted to take this and learn from it, to go out and to share with people like this, we want to say to you guys to remember one thing with all of this. There's a cause to why an atheist is an atheist. They might have these questions, and it's good to be able to answer this, but all in all, there's a reason why.
Yeah, and whenever you're sharing, you need to make sure to approach whoever you're sharing with love, because you don't know what they've been through in their life.
They could be
hurting, suffering, hurting, and
that could be the cause.
And that could be the cause. And I know that personally, I came from a very a place that was filled with a lot of suffering, and I had those questions as a young man, and it took me a long time to actually find someone that knew the answers, that could show me a better way than what I was.
Yeah, one of our friends, Zach, he was an atheist, and he sat down with Kurt Hacker, and then he answered some of his questions that he had, just like the questions we did here. He answers the questions. He goes, okay, well, I know that this can't just come from nothing. He asked some questions, and like we talked about here, questions were answered, and then he said, okay, well, let's talk some more. And he talks some more. And long story short, he's a Christian now. He has been for years. He's a worship leader. He preaches some. But it's all because we got to think that, yes, a lot of times that people need these questions answered. So we want to be able to answer these questions. Yeah. But when there's someone who you answer the questions, and they after answering these questions,
they're going to have more questions.
They have more questions, but then they come back and they just don't want to change. That's when it goes beyond just the logic of a question and answer, and that they're actually creating. We want to make sure that that's something that you guys don't forget, and we just want to lay that out to you. It's not so much something that we were doing role playing, but just tell you guys to remember that. Tell you guys, hey, these people are hurting, and we got to do what Christians do best, and love people and care for people and fight for people. And when they see that, people don't care what you know until they know what you. Well, people don't care what you know until they know
that you care.
Yes, there we go. Thank you. Yeah. But anyways, that's cliche. We hear it a lot, but the reason, but there's truth to it. There's reality to it. It's all both our truths. We're not never after anymore. But remember that, because when they know you care, they're gonna start listening to these points that we went over as you make it to them.
Yeah, and I would say if you're watching this video and you do fall in that non-Christian perspective, know that we don't affirm, necessarily what you believe. We can't really agree with you because we have a truth and we have the Bible and we have a God that loves us, and so do you. And we love you, and God loves you, and
maybe you just don't know it yet like we do, but we want you to. And the role playing isn't to make fun of
not at all
like that. It's just that's how we chose to set up teaching this lesson. So, but anyways, we'd love for you to be a Purely Christian. And if you have questions or you disagree with us still, you guys know how to contact us. PurelyChristians@gmail.com, and we'll set up a time to meet if it gets to that point. And we'd love to answer any more questions you have. And if you're hurting and you just want to talk, we'd love to talk about that. If you're a Christian and you have questions, and you want to know more about a specific thing that we talked about, maybe something that we didn't talk about, but you do want to know
some more information on that topic.
Yeah, on that topic or a topic we didn't cover, and reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you, help you with it. You have an atheist you want to have a study with, let's do that.
Whatever. That's fun.
Yeah, whatever it is. But we just want to make everybody purely Christians. And nothing else. So in heaven one day we can just all be there. So until next time, reach out to us. You guys know how it works. This is Purely Christian Lee.
How about that?
He likes his shirt.
I do. I like.
So anyways, you guys know the drill. I'm Matt.
And I'm Lee.
And we are Purely Christians.
And
come on, Lee.
I know this.
No. Back into the vault. Not an atheist, but
nothing else.
it's on your shirt.